Good night, everybody.
Hello, welcome. Well, today we're going to be showing 4 short films. One of them recently restored, and none of them really very well known. So we're not quite sure about the premiere status, but we suspect that at least a couple of them have probably never been seen before in Los Angeles, maybe not in California or even in the United States. The first one is a short by Teo Hernandez. It's maybe not characteristic of his body of work. It's a very early film of his, and it sort of sets the mood for the general themes of, or some of the themes of the evening, in that it sort of reflects his personal fascination with old Hollywood, with Hollywood starlets, and with, you know, the memorabilia, artifacts related to their careers and the glamour years of Hollywood's golden age. It's called Estrellas de Ayer.
Yeah, and probably the most famous film that was screening tonight, Lupe, by Rodriguez Soltero, which is never been shown with these other filmmakers or these other films, never placing dialogue with other Latin American filmmakers in the way that we're doing tonight, in terms of this shared fascination for the the Hollywood classical era and the Hollywood starlets, and probably in some cases the tragic stories behind that, right?
And specifically in the case of Rodriguez Soltero's film, the last film, he's referencing Lupe Velez, this Mexican starlet from the silent era, from the beginning of sound cinema, and who had this very sort of tumultuous life and tragic death. And we're also going to be showing Eduardo Solafranco's film, Encuentros Imposibles. It's also a very early film of his. It has some very kind of surrealist touches. He's this poet, playwright, painter, dandy from Ecuador that made a very large body of small gauge works, mostly in collaboration with a group of friends. They all have this kind of surrealist element, but mixed with classical mythology at times. And this is his very first short film.
That it's partially restored, Encuentros Imposibles, and it's very much related with Teo Hernandez film, and there's both Latin American filmmakers that were in Europe at the time. Eduardo Solafranco, probably like 10 years before Teo Hernandez, he moved to Europe in the mid-50s, and they were part of like a bohemian scene. That were, for instance, both of them made films and with bohemian friends, like playing around with small gauge cameras, and these films were not shown in a theatrical experience at the time. It was mostly like cinema clubs that was going around, make underground festivals at the time. And Eduardo Solafranco was not known for his films, but he was mostly known because of his artwork. So then it became like, in the past 10 years, they started to, part of the research that was made for the book, for Ism 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 book, was bringing back his films, and we started restoring part of his body of work. And well, this is a result of it. So as we said, we're putting together these filmmakers that previously were not shown together, and we started to find like the relationship, the shared fascination for some topics and some tropes, and maybe finding another even more strange relationship among this filmmaker is Horacio Valerejo A Olga, this film, which is a very rare film, rarely shown in the world, and was made in the mid-70s in Argentina. And it's also rare because it's Argentinian Super 8 is mostly known for this like obsession with formalism, and like trying like a sort of trying to find like in the medium way of experimenting the senses, right? And so they usually have very formal searches, but in this case, it's like very rare to find Argentinian Super 8 filmmakers making films that actually have humor involved. So it's a very short film, and in general, these films they do not need much of explanation in terms of what is the context. It's pretty straightforward, the type of aesthetics that they're working with. But probably what deserves is to mention is these new constellations that we're putting together since we started the research with other Latin American films that prior to this book were not shown together. So hopefully you
do you want to say something about the Olga reference?
Of course, yeah. And Olga, you will see it. It's part of it's in the credits. It's a reference. It's a tribute to the Queen of the Bolero, Cuban Queen of the Bolero, Olga Guillot, which is sort of it's a tribute, but at the same time they're making fun of this song that you'll see it, but it's mostly a song about a very turbulent passion, right? And it's a film made in a garage with some friends at the same time. It's like Claudio Caldini, this master of Super 8, was also working with the audio, with the sound, not the soundtrack. They're doing it live, and he's playing with a record player and making a weird experience with the sound of the Olga Guillot, that she has this amazing voice of singing boleros, actually having this a strange experience with that voice, very different from what you would expect. So yeah.
Enjoy the films. Thank you.